Good morning, my friends. Hey, Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a good holiday. We're ready to come back swinging in 2025. Oh, I guess they did ring the bell. I didn't hear that. Did anybody else hear the bell ring? Oh, okay, he must have. We have some musical guests this morning. Odin Fayen, Randy's son, will be playing the trombone that he just got. Look, he just got that trombone like last week, and he's already playing the trombone. So welcome. We are a people of purpose here. We are a place of welcome and warmth, and we hope you find it a welcoming and cool place to be. And if you're new here, like some people are, if you fill out one of these, this will put you on our email newsletter list so that you can keep up to date on all the cool stuff going on here. And we will have Miss Yasmin light our chalice. And Sonia, right? Sonia, Sophie, Sanju, Sunu. Sophie. Oh, we've got okay. Sophie and Sunu and Sonia and Sanju. I think I've got it now.
Well, the good thing is this is a lesson almost adult-proof because you have to have good fine motor. But
did you get it?
yep, we got it.
All right,
And
thank
it's
you. We're so happy to have this lovely family with us. All right, now before I'm going to read the the chalice lighting words. We tender this flame, opening the book, turning to a page yet to be written, opening a story yet to be told. May we fill this fresh page wisely. May we write a new story into being. May we together inscribe these pages with hope. Now, while people are coming in, let's everybody get up for a moment. We're going to take a quick moment of movement if you can, if you want to. This is not a requirement. You will not be tested on this later. Okay, let's take some deep breaths. Get our hands above our heads a little bit. And breathe out. Oh, throw away that old book from 2024. Oh, bring out a new fresh page and your favorite pen. Think about what you're going to write your story about this year. One more breath with your hands up. Oh, and then we do cactus arms like this and put our chest out with our hearts forward. Oh, and give yourself some love. And give love to everyone around you and send it out there into the world where, boy, it is needed. Oh, okay, sit down. Oh, thank you. I always feel so much better. The opening words are from Reverend Scott Taylor. We gather as a house of stories. As we learn of those who have gone before, a way in front of us becomes clearer. As we weave together our individual tales into a common story, our loneliness lessens, and the ever-present web of our oneness is revealed. As we listen deeply to each other's difficult stories with tenderness and trust, we descend into the longings and learnings, hopes and fears of the humanity we share. Beneath the wells from which we drink, there is a deeper well that feeds them all. Come, let us tell each other our tales of thirst, and let us drink from the stories that sustain us all. And now, my friends, we are going to sing. Our first hymn is printed in your order of service. It's Auld Lang Syne, for good measure, to start the year off. And what we're going to do is we sing one verse, we sing the chorus, and then we're going to do 2 verses chorus, 2 verses chorus. Okay, please rise in body and spirit as you are willing and able. take the time to greet each other. Say hello. So good to see such happy people. Now, if you'll remain standing, we're going to read our covenant, which is printed in your order of service. We come together as a religious community, upholding freedom of conscience, right relationship, and the inherent worth of all people. We value our diversity and pledge to care for one another in the spirit of compassion, to speak and listen to each other with respect, and to promote justice and kindness in the world. Go ahead and take a seat. We got Miss Yasmin coming up to tell a story.
Good morning, everyone. So this is a story written by the DRE in the Taunton Unitarian Church. And I just tweaked it a little bit, but this is by April. So here we are telling stories, and I just want to remind everyone, the end of our story here today always concludes with a postlude, which is a chance to listen and sort of, think and reflect about what you just experienced for the hour. So I just want to remind you, there's that moment of, we're still holding on to church time, but for those who don't want to listen, there is, coffee hour and socialization then. So, of course, once upon a time, there was this village, and it was surrounded by the most beautiful things, and there was this bird, and they called it the Sankofa bird. And it had such bright feathers, and it was very similar to a hummingbird where it could, fly pretty much back and forth at the same time, right? Hummingbirds are these magical little winged fairy things. Well, the villagers admired this bird so much because it had this power. It could fly forward while looking back. And so everyone was like, well, how do you do that? So one day this little child asked the question, bird, I'm so confused about my future and where we're becoming and what we're doing and the choices we make. Excuse me, bird, how can I find what lies ahead and how I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do? So the bird says, as it flies down, oh, my dear child, you are the author of your own story. But to understand our future, you have to sometimes learn from your past. So the journey of life is like flying. You look ahead, but you glance back and remember where you were. So the child is like, what are you talking about? How can looking back actually help me? So the bird's like, well, think of all your experiences. Each mistake you make and success has taught you something. And you reflect on them, and then you make better choices. And then just as I fly forward while looking back, you too move ahead with the wisdom you've gained. Ooh, wisdom, like adults use that word. I have it now. They remembered the time they were afraid to speak in front of class, and now they're able to do it, and they found joy in sharing stories. And so the child's like, maybe I'm a writer. Or maybe the time they helped a family when they weren't feeling good, and they were sort of caretaking, and they're like, hey, maybe I'm a nurse or a doctor. Or maybe they recalled when there was a screw loose and someone was like, hey, you want to help me fix it out? They're like, oh, let me go get that toolkit. They're like, yeah, I'm a carpenter, I'm a builder, I'm an engineer. Well, with each memory, they felt stronger and more confident about who they could be. So, child, what do you want to achieve in the future? Well, I want to be a storyteller. Okay, I want to share stories that inspire others. Then you remember your past and embrace your courage and creativity and reflect, and then you're guided on your way. So with this newfound determination, the child thanks the bird and sets off to share their stories with the world, remembering to illuminate their path forward. So, what does this story remind us of? That you are all the writers and authors of your story and how it actually goes. Don't get caught in that mind game. Looking backwards to move forward, good advice. Here we are in the New Year's. Everyone has that on their mind. I'm going to reinvent myself. I'm going to do working out and all that kind of stuff. And society says we have that blank slate right now. So, in our religion and stories like this, we have to look back and remember where we were, why we changed our core principles, why we're trying to be more inclusive, why we try telling stories not just from a basic standpoint. So in the week and days ahead, all of you, look back, help us look forward, create the stories that we're about to share with the world, and especially hold on to this, because we're heading off to RE and we're about to write some really cool stories. So, may the words we say be kind and true.
May love be a guide in all we do.
May kindness sing within your heart, and may peace be with us always.
All right, kids, you ready to go to Sunday school? Come on. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's way more fun than sitting here with me. I guarantee. All right, guys. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh, candles. Yes, indeed. Now is the time in our service where we share with each other our joys, our sorrows, our concerns. If you have something you would like to share, please come up and tell us your name and very briefly share your concern or your joy with us. And I want to light a candle first for my stepdad, Charlie, who is in hospital again. And we're just praying he gets better. And let's light one for the new year, just because that's the right thing to do. All right, you guys got a race? All right, come on. It is. It should be on. Yep.
Okay. Things I don't know, microphones. My name is Deb, and I just learned that my brother-in-law and his daughter have become estranged, and she won't speak to him. And it would be nice if you send out some help to him. His name is Gene.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I know most of you. I own about 50% of the kids. So my stepfather, who was not the stepfather I had growing up, I want to clarify, but he's on hospice right now. My mother believes it's the end of his life. But he is the father that my children grew up with, and so their grandfather is about to pass away. And I just wanted to reach out to everyone, let them know, because I know you're all very close with my kids. So just heads up.
Hey everyone, my name is Annie, and Happy New Year, I hope. For new stories, I would like there to be a new story for all the children in Palestine and all the other countries that are being bombed. And just in particular, because in Palestine, 96% of the children believe that they essentially they are going to die and that their death is imminent. And 49% wish that they were dead every day. So let's do anything that we can to change that, change their story.
Amen, sister.
Good morning. My name is Bernadette. I'm kind of new here. Huh? Is it on now? Is that better? Okay. Hi, my name is Bernadette. I'm kind of new here. Been here for a couple of months, and I really enjoy the people. I wanted to share this story. My son is lives in Portland, Oregon, and for a couple of years now, and he's a part of the Portland Gay Men's Choir. And I went to visit over the holidays, and I went to hear them, and I was so just overwhelmed by the voices of 150 men. Just was unbelievable. They ended their concert with a song arranged for chorus. And I have to read it because it's just like, I cried, of course. So if you can bear with me, I would like to read this to all of you. And if you want to listen to it, the Portland Gay Men's Choir are not on YouTube because they have some union people that they're not allowing them to do that. But if you look on YouTube under the Washington Gay Men's Choir chorus, actually, they sing it and it sounds just the same. It's called Merry Everything. Now, Christmas and Hanukkah, they're vying for attention. There's Kwanzaa, winter solstice, and many more that I could mention. All these different customs and all these different gods. If faith is the path to love and kindness, why are we all at odds? I'm not sure what you believe, whatever faith you're clinging to. Life is hard enough, and this past year I know was rough, so merry everything to you. So we often disagree about the things that we hold true. Really, it's okay. I'll choose to love you either way, and marry everything to you. Let's put our differences aside for a moment and let our separate worlds collide for a moment. Put away the fear, spread a little cheer, and if we hold the moment fast, it might just last throughout the year. We all need a little joy. The time for peace is overdue. In the grander scheme, we're not as different as we seem, so why not take a broader view and be a part of something new? Let's celebrate these days with this all-inclusive phrase, merry everything, merry everything, merry everything to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernadette. That was terrific. Lovely thing to share. Lighting one last candle for, please pray for our friend and member Lisa Reagan Durr. She's had bile duct cancer for a little over a year now. It's a very aggressive, terrible kind of cancer. And now she's talking about quality as opposed to quantity of life. So please keep her and her family in your prayers. She's an old and dear friend of mine, and I know it's a lot for all of them. And I lit 2 final candles, as is our practice here, one for all the joys and the sorrows we keep in our hearts, and one for all of those people out there that don't have a supportive and loving place like this to share in, like our church. Odin, you keep getting better and better. I'm always impressed. Now, our responsive reading is printed in your order of service. It's called Today is an Adventure by Reverend Bob Janice Dillon. I love his stuff. So I'll read the plain type if you will answer with the bold. Today is an adventure. Each day is an adventure. The adventure of the day begins with the blood of life flowing through our arteries and capillaries, with the breath of life connecting us with the trees in mutual wonder and uplifting joy. Is this not all an adventure, companions? Do we not travel through time and space and through the electric galaxy of emotions swirling in the space of our minds? And now, my friends, let us enter into the spirit of prayer and meditation. And, hold on. I'm looking, there it is. This is another piece by Bob Janice Dillon, and it's called Great Story Prayer. Eternal Spirit of life and love, O God, we come together in your presence today, grateful to be part of the great story. And what a magnificent story it is. From the whirling of the stars to the evolution of humanity, from the achievements of nations to the family life around the table, there is much in our world to astound us, disturb us, and bring us peace. We are part of a story much too large and complicated for us to fully understand. We appreciate that. But we also know that you have given us reason to know our portion. We have within us a great striving for fairness, a thirst for justice. We feel it in our bones when something is wrong, and we have lodged in our memory the dream of the right. We don't know how this story will end, though we live aware that our own individual story will end. But we know we have a chance while we are here to serve beauty and dignity and truth and basic kindness. Into this great story, into this great tapestry of natural beauty and human endeavor, we can weave in the threads of good deeds. Help us, O Spirit, help us to move this story along and to jolt it every day towards love. Amen, and so may it be. I thought about trying to sing that song. I can't even hear it without crying. That song is called Winter by Tori Amos, and it always makes me think of my dad, who was the best storyteller. The second reading is called The Storyteller by Mike Jones. And this was a guy that was a folk singer, and he wrote this song for a friend of his. I'm a teller of tales, a spinner of yarns, a weaver of dreams, and a liar. I'll teach you some stories to tell to your friends while sitting at home by the fire. You may not believe everything that I say, but there's one thing I'll tell you that's true. For my stories were given as presents to me, and now they are my gifts to you. My stories are as old as the mountains and rivers that flow through the land they were born in. They were told in the homes of some peasants in rags and kings with fine clothing adorning. There's no need for silver or gold in great store, for a tale becomes richer with telling. And as long as each listener has a good pair of ears, it matters not where they are dwelling. A story well told can lift up your hearts and help you to forget all your sorrows. It can give you the strength and the courage to stand and face all your troubles tomorrow. For there's wisdom and wit, beauty and charm. There's laughter and sometimes there's tears. But when the story is over and the spell it is broken, you'll find that there's nothing to fear. My stories were learned in my grandparents' home, where their grandparents also had heard them. They were given as payment by traveling folk for a warm place to lay down their burdens. My stories are ageless. They never grow old. With each telling, they are born anew. And when my story is ended, I'll still be alive in the tales that I've given to you. And now, my friends, let us sing in hymn number 34. Please rise as you are willing and able. Number 34. Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess and striving so my love profess, but not be given by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free. Please be seated. And now is the time in our service where we ask you for your very kind donations toward the many, many good works of this church. And we are going to have a little longer offertory piece today, but I know you love the music. So we'll just sit and listen to some more good music and be happy to have our guest musician here with us today. Fayans, the next generation. I love it. So, close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes and let your spirit fly back in time. Before your birth, before the birth of every one of your ancestors, and further back and back still before humans as we know them with our large brain language, and sit with me by a fire. There's a heavy smell of the animal skins we wear to keep us warm. And there's an infant crying to be fed before her mother picks her up and brings her in close to be warm with us. There was fresh meat for dinner tonight, so our bellies are full and we are ready for a story. Because this is how we know, how we learn, how we remember. The men get up, one wearing the skin mask of a bear, and the others with sticks as spears, and they act out the hunt, the stalking, the strategy, and then with a dramatic flourish, killing the beast, followed up by the victorious walk back to camp as heroes who would feed us for another week. And though the story is simple, we are rapt by the telling of it, inspired by it, and it makes us formulate the kind of story we want to be able to tell in order to make others look at us with that kind of attention. Open your eyes. Stories are power, and they always, always have been. Before we could speak our language to each other and understand it, we could act things out and tell stories, right? Didn't even need words to do that. So the Soul Matters theme this month is living love through the practice of story. And this is a topic I am thrilled with, of course, because I was blessed with an appreciation for stories and storytellers growing up. Some of my earliest memories are of my father and my great-grandmother reading the classics to me with all these different voices, you know. And I was so disappointed when I was little and I saw the Jungle Book for the first time in cartoon form, because the voices were not the ones I was expecting to hear. I was expecting to hear my dad's voice making all these voices, and those were not the voices I heard. And that wasn't right somehow to me, because he was really good at reading. And I remember sitting at my great-grandmother's feet while she took great pleasure in reading Aesop's fables, and she loved to scare the crap out of me. And she'd read stories of banshees and fairies, and they kind of filled me with some fear and wonder. And she made sure that we put a little saucer of milk on the back porch with some cookie crumbs to the side to keep the fairies happy and make sure they protected us. Now, I still leave little gifts for the fairies to protect me because, as my great-grandmother told me, once you know they're there, you can't ignore them or they'll bring you grief. So I don't mess around with the fairies, okay? I give them the respect I was taught to give them and that they deserve, the good wee folk. And it may be a story to you, but it was a powerful enough story to shape my life. So now I believe it as I believed it then. And I don't want to risk the grief. On Christmas Eve, I talked right here about the story of Jesus' birth and how his story was truer than true, and how his story changed the world. And most of the major religions are built around the teachings of prophets and the stories of gods and goddesses. Every culture on earth has a creation myth, a story to help us figure out those big questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? And a host of other stories to help us understand every aspect of human life and speculate about death. It's all stories. Oh, one of my favorite authors, Terry Pratchett, the author of Discworld. Yeah, Mary knows him. He said, there's always a story. It's all stories, really. The sun coming up every day is a story. Everything's got a story in it. If you change the story, you can change the world. Now, as children, everything we are built on is stories, right? The stories we were told and that we believed. And those stories, those old stories that we heard when we were kids, have very long fingers, my friends. Those stories we believe, which are rarely true, are the root of almost all of our mental health issues, right? You might recognize some of the stories we tell ourselves sometimes. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking enough. I am not enough for whatever reason. It's my fault. I should have. I could have. If only I had done this or said that. I wish I would have. We've all been there, church. We know those stories, right? Those stories we tell ourselves or others try to make us believe, they can do real harm. And sometimes it's incredibly difficult to close the book on one way of thinking or being and open another. But no one can write or tell your story but you. And that's a super real and heavy thing to do honestly. We have to work on new passages every day, make edits all the time, revise, delete. And like any artist, you have to know when to toss away something that isn't working and start fresh. The most important thing is don't let anyone else dictate your story for you or to you. Be courageous enough to write your own story because you and only you know what you are truly capable of. No one else can do that for you. Have faith in that. And every new day is an opportunity to change the story if we want to. It all depends on how much control we lend to the story to create its power, even when stories seem to have a life of their own. Terry Pratchett, again, in his book Witches Abroad, he said, stories are important. People think that stories are shaped by people. In fact, it's the other way around. Stories exist independently of their players. If you know that, that knowledge is power. Stories, great flapping ribbons of shaped space-time, have been blowing and uncoiling around the universe since the beginning of time, and they have evolved. The weakest have died, and the strongest have survived, and they have grown fat on the retelling. Looking back at just this past year, we see how stories evolve, right? And how the truth doesn't matter so much as how boisterously the story is told, right? The economy is doing well and unemployment is at the lowest in decades. Boring! Immigrants are eating people's pets! Oh my God, click, 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 click. You see how that works? You see? One story is true and the other is not. But no one clicks on the story about the economy doing great when Mittens and Fido are in mortal peril. And news sources know this. They understand how storytelling works. And the thing about how stories getting told over and over again is a good thing for them. The growing fat on the retelling. They grow fat on the retelling of whatever we prefer to hear, okay? And the more drama, the better. We eat it up. We are drawn to more action as we require a serious emotional response, right? Essentially, we like the story better than the truth, especially when the story backs up what we already think is true, right? Scholars call that confirmation bias. We are all prone to it, whether we are talking politics or about literally anything else, right? We prefer the stories we know. We have been hardwired. What we have been hardwired to believe, especially from the time we were really young, is really nearly impossible to get rid of completely. My Catholic upbringing still lingers in lots of ways. Remember all that "I'll never be good enough, everything is my fault" crap? Yeah, there's that. But then there's also this thing that I will never, ever litter, because my mother told me when I was young that when people throw trash on God's beautiful earth, baby Jesus will cry and it will rain. I still pick up trash everywhere I see it, and because it's the right thing to do, but there's also this little baby Jesus at the back of my brain with his little lip quivering. And if I think of walking, I can't just walk by it and leave it there. I can't. Stories are the most powerful tool we have, my friends, aside from love, of course, to connect us to others. When we really get to know someone's story, it is much more difficult to be fearful or cruel, because you realize we are more similar than we are different in all the ways that count. When we recognize our own struggles and our own challenges in other people's stories, we know we're not alone. That's why banning books is such an awful thing to do. You're telling someone that their story isn't important. And that's the worst thing you can do to someone, telling someone that their story isn't important. Everybody's story is important. Everyone's story is valuable. The stories we tell ourselves, the stories we are told, the stories we believe have an indelible effect on our lives. So how do we just up and change the story if we don't like it? It's work. It's conscious work. And it takes time because you have to find a way to believe it, right? It begins with the sincere desire for change and the will to make it so. You know what that is? That is literally the definition of magic, my friends. The desire for change and the will to make it so. Any good life coach or therapist will point you in the same direction. Flip through your old book, copy and paste what you want and need, put it into a separate file, and then throw the old book into the metaphorical fire. You replace your old story with a new story. Think of a new blank book still stiff from never being opened, and your favorite pen, the one that flows just right. And take a breath and begin. Forget about once upon a time. Start with, this time right now, I will. This time right now, I will. It's up to you. The rest. So this month and this year, let's be mindful of stories. The stories we share, the stories we tell, the stories we listen to, the stories we believe, and why. What story haven't you heard from a friend or a family member that you'd really like to hear? What story do you feel you need to tell someone? How will you practice love through those stories that you tell yourself and you tell others? How will you wield such power, my friends? May we all lead with love as we write this next chapter and be bold enough to revise as necessary. Change the story, change the world. That, my friends, is truer than true. May it be so. Where am I? Here I am. And now let us sing our final hymn, number 108. 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Please rise as you are willing and able. On in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close sings in the night it giveth? No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. It sounds an echo undefiled. How can I keep from singing? May we have the courage to speak or write the stories within us that need to be told, the stories that make up our lives. May we listen with a loving mind and heart to the stories of others' lives, others here in this church, others in our wider community and in our world. Let us choose with care the stories we teach our children, remembering that all of our stories have power and that all of our stories are connected, for all of life is one. In the name that is of all that is sacred in these gathered hearts, may it be so. Amen, my friends. Hold fast, church. We love you. Stay strong. Live long and prosper. Go in peace. Have a seat and let's listen to this postlude.